is a tale of two companies. Woo! I was yakking with the Nikon rep today. I think he took care of, I think he said 7 or 8 states. He was a really nice dude. I mean, he was like down to earth. Kind of like if you met your Uncle Jed. He was not country, kind of like your Uncle Jed that had a farm and he was really down to earth. The Nikon rep dude was awesome and kind and sweet and nice. And I think I got a picture of him here somewhere. I wished I remembered his name. I could never remember anybody's damn name. Really nice guy. So totally down to earth. And man, he had a fancy setup. I got this free t-shirt and I got another t-shirt I'm going to give away. He was doing the key mission stuff today, which I think is a total loser. The key mission stuff is now he had the fancy table. Fancy. Oh, and there was some other stuff like new banners, and there was all sorts of new banner stuff going on with Nikon. Now Fuji was here a month and a half ago, and there's some fancy. Nikon's got some serious advertising budget. Nikon is in a lot of different things too, medical, optical. And when you think optical, you're not just thinking camera lenses. I mean, there is some serious Nikon labeled stuff in hospitals, and man, there's all sorts of Nikon stuff. So they got some serious money. I actually hear the people that have the most money, which you would be surprised, is Olympus. But that's not from Olympus cameras, which to me are losers. But because they've got so much in medical and high-end optical stuff meant for, the really high-dollar crap that like hospitals and scientific labs require, like telescope, all sorts of freaky stuff. Here's the new booth. Man, that's some fancy stuff. Like every camera store gets one of these, and these key missions are losers. The 360 is neat, but it's very limited. Now, as far as Fuji, when Fuji was here, they came out behind the camera counter, and they had like one mat, and they just plopped it out on the glass table. Now, we contrast that with the Nikon folks here. And this goes to tell you that that this doesn't get you anything. You see all these the mats, man, the table, the cloth, man, the posters hanging up there. And the guy's really not, this has nothing to do with him. He just does what Nikon tells him. I think he's an awesome guy. This guy deserves a raise. I'm not hating on Nikon, but I've known Nikon now for a long time. And usually their representatives are stuck-up schmucks. They're like, what can I do for you, It is a pleasure for you to buy our stuff, not the other way around. It's like, it is our pleasure to sell stuff. This guy's awesome. This guy deserves a raise or a promotion. He is like the only normal Nikon guy, rep that I've ever met. Nice and sweet and kind. Very, very unusual for Nikon. Nikon people are very stuck up. They're just really stuck up. But the point being here is I'm going to compare and contrast Nikon to Fuji. And I love Nikon and Fuji. I own the piss out of Nikon and Fuji stuff. I'm deeply invested in both because both are awesome. By the way, I brought a Fuji camera with me today to take pictures. He thought that was mildly amusing, but he knows I own tons of Nikon stuff. He had everything. There was nobody there. You could hear the crickets chirping. Obviously, now Fuji had the XT2. Everybody wanted to see the XT2. Now, Fuji didn't have anything. We had 2 representatives from Fuji. They opened up their bags. They plopped it on the table. Plop. That was it. There was no table. There was no giveaways except for like a little USB drive stick thing, and only a few people got those. The people that had pre-ordered an XT2, people like me. Fuji had nothing, and there were tons of people there to manhandle all the Fuji stuff. The Nikon dude had all the Nikon stuff there. It was like, wow. And there was nobody there. I was there for 3 hours, and I swear to God there wasn't a single person at that table. Now, there could have been like 3 or 4 people, or who knows how many before I got there, but I was there for several hours. There was nobody there but me. Nobody. And they even had all this awesome propaganda, and I got several copies. I call all sorts of stuff like this propaganda. The D810 brochure, the D500 brochure, the Nikkor lens brochure. These are great too, by the way. Here I go hitting the microphone. The D500 catalog propaganda. is really neat. Nikon has always had great propaganda. And I mean that in the nicest way when I say propaganda. I just always call this stuff propaganda. It's really neat, though. But the point being is that he had all the fancy, there was nobody there. Fuji didn't have nothing. They just like plopped the crap out on the countertop, and people were just like, shoomp! People rushed in. It's like, oh my god, the Fuji is the new Fuji X-T2! Everybody, this is literally what happened when Fuji was there. When Fuji had a couple X-T2s, they only had, people were just like clawing at the bit. Someone else had their hands on it. And other people were just like hovering over, like, are you done with that yet? Are you done with that yet? Are you done? You know, they wanted, everybody was just jockeying to touch and pet the X-T2. Nobody was there for Nikon. Now, Nikon was not releasing a new camera, obviously. They only had the key missions. But you think, you know, the guy had a box of t-shirts and a box of hats, and there was just nobody there. Nobody. The crickets were chirping. As Nikon turned into that, like, dusty old dude that, like, sits at the top of IBM, back when IBM thought they were infallible, and they were, like, clipping the end off a Cuban cigar, going, yeah, you know, sitting on a mountain of cash. And, too big to fail has always been, you know, Nikon is heavily divested in many different branches of optics and electronics. You know, if Nikon went under as far as their cameras, Nikon would be very, very solvent for a lot of medical and precision optical stuff. So Nikon doesn't live or die by cameras. They don't. I mean, the figures prove that out to be the case. But I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, that's very telling. Like, nobody showed up for this guy and his fancy setup and his free t-shirts, of which I got a couple. I got two. The other one is going to be in a giveaway. And I got a second hat. I got three shirts, actually. One of them is a Super Magic shirt, which I'm going to do something with or hold on to, even though it's a bit too small. But nobody showed up. And this guy was like a rare Nikon guy. You know, he was nice and kind and intelligent. And what an awesome guy he was. You know, Nikon needs to give this guy a raise. Actually, what Nikon needs to do is Nikon needs to have this guy train other Nikon representatives on how to treat people. And I don't think he was actually treating me special because I make 10 billion videos about Nikon. I mean, he was, you know, you could just tell that's the sort of person he was. Nikon hired the right guy when they got that guy. Nikon needs to give him a raise. I forget his name. Somebody at Nikon's going to go like, oh, that's Bob, I know him. I don't know what his name is. But that's a tale of two different companies. Fuji came with nothing, and everybody wanted to see it and handle it. And the Nikon rep came with everything, and there was nobody there. You could hear the crickets chirping. Chirp, 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 chirp. Yeah. I also found out that I've been in the Nikon newsfeed globally that spread out to all the Nikon reps. I know one of them was me yakking so much about the D500 being legendary, and I was 100% vindicated on my prediction of the Nikon D500 being a legendary camera. It has already turned into a legendary camera. I know that was one of the news feeds that Nikon International, or Nikon Incorporated, stuck out to all the representatives. They did a news feed because Nikon has their own social media. Nikon has their ears, kind of like the CIA is monitoring your crap. Nikon, anytime someone says Nikon on YouTube or social media, Nikon Incorporated is going, what? What? They're listening in on that. So apparently, I don't know what the other two are, but I've been told by the horse's mouth that I've been in 3 different news feeds from Nikon Corporate. I know what one of them was about, which is the D500, but I don't know what the other 2 were about. I guess I'll never know. I wished they might not be good. They might be like, oh, that fat bastard was complaining about our 105 f1.4 lens, which I can't stand. It's overpriced. It's made in China. It's no good. It's rendition, saturation, bandwidth. It's no good. That lens is... No. No. Now, that lens should be contrasted highly. Even if it were a great lens, which it's not, it should be contrasted highly against another lens that's probably made in the same plant and I own two of right here, and I saw the banner for it here is the 200 to 500, and this lens is only $1,400. It's a big ass lens. I can guarantee you there are less man hours and labor involved in creating this lens than there is that damn 105 f1.4. This is priced actually too cheap. This lens is the tits. Got two of them. If the 105 1.4 were a great lens, which is far from a great lens, it's a horrible lens. I absolutely despise it. Yes, I used it. I took pictures with it. Made pictures with it, technically speaking. No. No. $2,200. No. That lens, hell no. That lens is basically twice the cost of this lens. This lens I know has more glass in it. There's more time and labor involved in creating this lens. No, that 105 1.4 is just an overpriced abomination. And it's a bad lens. If it were a good lens, I would still call it an overpriced abomination. It's like, that's ridiculous. That lens should not cost that much. But anyway, so there's the tale of two companies. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the t-shirt. And it was so nice to meet like a nice, intelligent, non-rude, gentle human Nikon representative, because Nikon representatives are not like that. Nikon representatives are schmucky and rude and stuck up, and they're off-putting. I mean, they all are. You can ask anybody that's working at camera stores, like, I can't stand the Nikon reps. They suck. It's like, have you ever met a good one? Like, no, they all suck. This guy definitely breaks the mold. I don't know if Nikon is changing it up. Maybe they heard enough backlash of like, stop sending, stuck-up Nikon reps our way, because this guy definitely deserves a promotion. He's an awesome dude. So, thanks for watching. Bye.